All right. Hello, everybody. It's been 9 days since our last episode. And in that time, the A's have won 3 games. When I wrote this morning, it was only 2, but they've now won 3. They are on their first winning streak since last October. And the starters have won 2 games this season. So that's huge, I guess, for game 33. But beyond the on field misery of the last week, there's been a lot to talk about off field. Since we last spoke, MLB is actively cropping protest signs out of their replay videos in the Coliseum. A new poll shows that statewide support for giving the A's a $500 million public subsidy is down to 41%, which still seems high to me. And if you take the Las Vegas residents out of that and just look at Nevada at large, it is quite a bit lower. National media, former players, and even Tom Hanks have been weighing in on how horrible John Fisher is as an owner and how important the A's are to Oakland. Las Vegas and Nevada politicians are publicly criticizing matters of timing and feasibility of the project, citing the fact that there's not enough time left in the legislative session to actually get a bill of this magnitude passed, let alone actually get the legislation through. And there's a serious question as to whether or not John Fisher even has the money to own this team in the first place. As Fisher, it came out this last week, he used the A's as collateral for a 5-year loan from U.S. Bank that started back in 2020. And we don't know what the totals are, but he's using the team as collateral, which should be a red flag for MLB, but they don't seem to see red flags. And we don't know how much the loan was for, and it wouldn't be unusual to use a business as collateral for a business loan. That's not unusual, but taken in context of everything else that's going on over the last couple of years since that 2020 loan, I think it warrants a deeper look. And there's also rumblings that a Vegas stadium would actually be owned and operated by a stadium authority, much like it is in Oakland. And I haven't seen this mentioned by official channels, and the one that I did see it mentioned by is dubious at best. But if it's true, it begs the question to Fisher and Cavill, what changed? Because they went from we need a self-owned downtown ballpark development to we'll take a strip adjacent property in a smaller market with no ancillary development and a need for third-party financing. They made that switch pretty quickly. So to talk about all of that and whatever else comes up, we've got NorCal Nodders today and Benjamin Christensen, hats and tats and all. Welcome, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, how are you?
Do you all have your drinks? Do you have your drinks ready? And
I've got water.
Yeah, I'm a energy drink guy, but I'll be hyped up. Don't worry.
Okay, excellent. So, what are your thoughts, folks, on everything that's happened since whenever? I mean, I talked to everyone last week, but you haven't been on the show before. So, what are your thoughts?
I'll let you go first, NorCal.
That's because you got probably stronger, better opinions than I do. But in terms of, well, I don't know where to start. You gave a smorgasbord of stuff to work with there, and the lightning rod was the cropping of the signs, right, in the right field bleachers, and boy, that sure ties in to the narrative that whatever they're creating, whatever MLB and this handshake. So, everybody's got a conspiracy theory, right? What's going on and who's working in cahoots with who, and the whole Manfred working with yeah. So the one I kind of like right now, the conspiracy, I guess, is Manfred's somewhat using the A's to be like to test the market, right? To develop a feasibility of a major league team there. At the same time, possibly, building whatever leverage this is, or whatever the hell this monstrosity that they've got now. This whole thing's weird to me because I live over in the valley. I live over by Lodi. So I'm a Kings fan, and I was a Raiders season ticket holder, and I'm a season ticket holder. Every one of them, right? It left or was going to leave or whatever, all the same type of thing. The Raider one was kind of writing on the wall, felt all whatever, and then the Kings one was I mean, they were out the door, but that feeling was a lot of. This is one of the most odd feelings I've ever had in terms of a team leaving. I don't really know if they're really flailing like they're acting. You know what I mean? Like everybody's saying. And so I know I'm kind of already starting off on a tangent in a way, but what I'm trying to pull it back to is I don't know if they know what they're doing. Yeah, I mean, realistically, but I do kind of feel like Manfred knows what's going on. I feel like he has some kind of knowledge of what's going on. That's why he's not saying anything. He's kind of letting it all happen. Just play. Let them all play. And they all know they can reel it all back in, right? Oakland, they could probably put it all back together, realistically, if they needed to. And if they wanted to, they can do something in Vegas, is how I feel. So I feel like they're just kind of, it's like, blow the crap up and see what happens. And then, like, and in a way, they're with the cropping out of the signs and everything else, I think that's just lightning rods just to poke and to I don't know what they're doing with the fans. I don't understand at all, because now they're kind of treat us a little bit better, right? They're giving us these package deals for tickets, and they're trying to get people in the stadium a little bit more. I went to that bobblehead thing, which I'm a bobblehead guy, but they had the kids all there with the weather thing and stuff. I mean, that was like 13,000 people there, right? And then I almost can guarantee they're piping in music or sound, cheering and stuff like that. Like they're trying to create an environment all of a sudden. But at the same time, Cavill's down being a politician or whatever he's doing and lobbying and all that kind of stuff. So I know this is like a stretch off of what we're kind of, but the smorgasbord is all one thing. I feel it's all one pile of steaming dog shit that we're all trying to figure out what to do with the thing.
Yeah, I had totally forgotten to add the $99 packages to my list of things, because I know that seems like a good deal. I mean, it is a good deal, and it seems like they're making an effort. But then it also is a middle finger to those 7 or 8 season ticket holders that they've got.
Yep.
Well, one thing on that, real quick. I know, but did you see the stipulations on that?
No.
You have to go start at 9 a.m. You have to request to get your ticket. Well, and if they once that fills up. So you're not going to get a week. Well, you may get a Saturday game, but anyways. So what are they doing? You know what I mean? What are you going to start treating this? But they did that same thing last year. Remember last year they started rolling out the bingo on Fridays during the summer. They started rolling. Beginning of the year was nothing, and then as the season went, they started treating us good. So all right, I'll let Ben talk now.
No, with everything that's going on in this situation, my frustrations go back to, I want to say, I think it was 2014 or 2015. Lou Wolf was still owning the team. And the biggest red flag that came to our attention first was the fact that on the scoreboard, they started eliminating the word Oakland out of the entire team identity.
Right.
So it's not to say that like this is a new revelation that A's fans have been dealing with. Like this is something that's been going on for a while. And granted the fact that Wolf's been gone for, X amount of years, but the whole situation as far as how Wolf got into the picture to begin with, along with Fisher, was just because of the fact that he and Bud Selig were college roommates at University of Wisconsin. And that really kicked this whole thing off. And after Wolf left, all of us were happy. And then, of course, Dave Cavall comes in and, this whole, knight in shining armor, face man pitch, etc. And then Chris Giles, of course, comes in with the access pass, really butters up the fan base. And, with that, Cavall, especially coming from the soccer program of the San Jose Earthquakes, like everything just kind of seemed shady about that to begin with. So I haven't liked Cavall since day one, just because of all that. And in the same sense, and I'm sure this has been brought up multiple times, whether it's on here or whether it's other media outlets and such, Cavall was brought in with the Earthquakes to, build the fan base up much in the same way that he was for the A's. And the whole stipulation with the Earthquakes was, hey, we need a new stadium. Once we get that, we're going to start putting money into the payroll. We're going to be competitive, et cetera, et cetera. And the reality that happened with that was they got their new stadium. And the Earthquakes haven't finished above 12th place at all the entire existence of that new stadium.
Yeah.
So here we are getting fed the same BS story from Cavall, and we'll say Fisher in a sense, but obviously he's not coming out in public and really saying anything because Cavall is just the mouthpiece for all that. But for me, what really pains me is the fact that the day that all this broke out was I was going on a small vacation to Vegas. And literally the second I landed is when the news broke about this. But I didn't find out about it till an hour later because my phone died and I was together with my wife. And she had asked me, while I left my phone in the hotel room, it's like, oh, hey, have you heard anything about what's going on at the A's? I'm like, no. What are you talking about? Oh, here, check it out. And she showed me her phone, and I'm reading the whole thing. And from what she told me is I went from like this big smile on my face to like a family member died, all within a matter of seconds as I'm progressing through this, because she hadn't read it, or she didn't really have an understanding as far as what was going on. And I hand it back to her, and I'm like, look at this, read this. You're not going to believe it. And so, here we are, or here I am physically in Vegas, and this news gets announced. I'm back in the hotel room at this point, looking out the window, and I can see the exact spot where the stadium that they're talking about is being built in. And it's just like, how does this keep happening over and over to A's fans specifically, but then more importantly to Oakland sports fans in general? Because the one thing I kind of go back with Oakland sports fans in general is outside of the California Golden Seals, which were, done in about 3 to 4 year time period before they moved on. And then now the Oakland Roots with soccer, Oakland has never really had a start in Oakland sports team identity. The A's from Philly to Kansas City to here, Golden State Warriors, same thing, Philly to San Francisco, San Diego, then back to San Francisco, then to Oakland, now back to San Francisco. And then the Raiders, that's probably like the best example of it. So Raiders starting in Oakland, almost moved to Portland back in the late 60s. Then they moved to LA in the 80s, then back to Oakland, and now in Vegas. And so the city of Oakland just continually being jilted by all these sports owners. And, especially in the case of Fisher, where on paper, the man allegedly has, $2 billion plus because of his inheritances and because of his controlling stake in Gap, et cetera. And you mean to tell me that this guy, despite the fact that they owned the plot of land at the Coliseum, which cost them, $150 million, you can't do something with that, let alone find even another plot of land. And I'm not necessarily just Howard Terminal, but just anywhere within Oakland city limits to build a stadium with your own money. Like, Come on, dude, get out of here with that.
Well, that's the thing that bugs me is this was supposed to be, it was like a $7 billion project at Howard Terminal. Then it was a $12 billion project. And it was all going to be privately financed, except for whatever little bit of money they needed from Oakland that was going to be covered with these tax districts and stuff like that. But now all of a sudden in Vegas, where everything's supposed to be cheaper, it's an easier plot of land to deal with. You don't have to deal with marine interests and land interests and city interests and state interests and all that stuff. You just got to deal with that plot of land. Yep. Right. So it's supposed to be easier. It's supposed to be cheaper because you're not going to have to deal with as much bureaucratic red tape. And then all of a sudden he needs more money from Vegas than he needed from Oakland.
Yeah.
So what changed? And you're not getting, and it went from a $12 billion project to $1.5 billion.
Yeah. Because
they're not going to have the space to do the hotels and condos and all that kind of stuff. So that's what gets me. And that's what, going back to what you said at the top about MLB using the A's as kind of a scout for expansion. I've been saying that for 2 years now, that I always thought that it was a two-sided sword. You use it to leverage Oakland into giving you what you want, and you're also getting the legwork done for expansion.
Yeah.
Two birds, one stone. Everything works out great. And I think with what's going on now, you could still make the argument that it is still the same because of the way they're going about. It's because it's such a different project than it would have been in Oakland.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, why that's changed all of a sudden? Maybe that's changed because they're not interested in building there. They are still interested in, can we get $500 million out of the city so that we can get an expansion team there? Whatever the case is. Yeah. But the whole way that everything is shifted feels very fishy to me.
Go ahead.
Do you think? I'm sorry. I have an honest question for both of you. Okay, the whole thing right now is the theory is he doesn't have the money, right? Or there's a theory out there. I mean, how much validity do you guys feel that is to that?
I mean, if you look at Gap stock prices, over the last couple of years,
I mean, I can also say I doubt Fisher has the liquidity to be able to pull it off. I was going to say, on paper, he's worth X amount of dollars.
Right.
But I also go back to pre-2012 with the Florida, now Miami Marlins, and how Jeff Loria swindled the entire city of Miami into building a $1+ billion stadium in Little Havana. a place that has no reason to have any kind of a sports facility, even though the Orange Bowl was there like numerous years ago and since moved out because of the fact that, whatever the name of where the Dolphins play, I keep want to call it Joe Robbie, but it's not. And that's in Miami Gardens, which is a good stretch down the highway to begin with. And so I feel like Fisher and company are basically trying to swindle either Vegas or the city of Oakland and basically doing a very similar scenario because of the fact that it's just like, well, hey, if I can pocket as much money out of this as possible and get these other people to pay for it, I'm going to go down that road as much as I possibly can.
That's what I think. I think he's trying to get free development out of this thing.
Totally.
I don't think he had. I don't think he ever. I think he asked for the shoot for the moon or reach for the stars and whatever. I think that's what he did with Howard Terminal. Personally, I think he asked for the whole thing. All of a sudden, it started coming together. I don't think he had the way to do it. I don't think he had a way to develop it. The money and stuff. Resources.
The true parallel. I mean, he wasn't paying for it anyway, but he can't. I think he's at a point now that he can't get the financing he needs. He's over leveraged. He's got two loans out. He's got a team that's hemorrhaging money in his terms.
Right.
Revenue share could be drying up if they don't get a deal soon. I think he's just so over leveraged that he won't be able to get the financing. And even this deal in Las Vegas, this binding deal that they keep talking about is only binding if he can get the $500 million from the state.
Yeah.
It's contingent on getting that money. And without that money, he's not in a binding deal. And he also can't get the financing for the other $1 billion that it's going to take to get this thing done.
Good. I hope he doesn't.
Well, the thing is, the real parallel path here, if you wanted to split and being like, you know what, it's not getting done. We biffed on Laney. We're gonna have to do two directions here. The real parallel path would have been the current site. We're putting 95% into Howard Terminal. That's where we want the park. That's where it's all drawn out. We've got the plans. We've got the vision for Howard Terminal. But just in case it doesn't work, our plan B is right where we are. We'll build in the parking lot. We'll get it done in a shorter time, and we'll make it something special. That would have been the parallel path.
Yeah.
I
mean, what do you guys feel in regard to the Laney situation? Because the more I look back on that, I feel like it was a situation, much in the same sense of Howard Terminal. It's just like, let's pick a location, see how far we can get with it, because we know we're going to get shut down by all the people in the area, and especially by the school. I mean, not to say that Laney College is a school, but you know what I'm saying. All parties that be are basically just going to, no, vote this down, et cetera, which is exactly what happened. So Howard Terminal, of course, becomes, the next cog in this entire storyline. And so help me out here. How did all the housing development and stuff come into the part of the package with this? That's the one thing I keep forgetting about.
Well, like with Howard Terminal, they needed to build around it so that it made money.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was the whole thing, is it was going to become this whole real estate thing, so that it would be making money 365 days of the year instead of the 81. Okay. And then the city of Oakland has rules and laws that you have to follow when you're doing a development, which, had stipulated like how many low income homes you had to build and stuff like that into the area. And there was some contention, I guess, with how many low income things the A's were going to have to pony up and all that kind of stuff. But just like Laney, they announced Laney. It's a done deal. This is our site. This is the only site in Oakland that will work. Okay, they come out and they announce it, and then it all falls apart. They shot it out prematurely. They didn't have any kind of due diligence or backing or anything. So that blows up in their face. You look at Vegas. They're supposedly 2 or 3 days away from announcing that the A's in Oakland have bridged a lot of the gap, and they're down to like the last $75 or $80 million that they've got to come up with on this thing. That was supposed to come out on Friday or whatever. On Wednesday night, they announced this, and it was leaked to the media with a quote from Dave Cavell in the article. So I think what they've done in Laney is the exact same thing they've done in Vegas, where they've come out, they've made this big proclamation. We are done with Oakland. We're in Vegas. And then they were not banking on Vegas coming out and going, whoa, you haven't even asked us for the money yet. And they weren't banking on Oakland going, fine, let us know when you get a new owner and we'll be back to the table. So both places called their bluff because they've got a history of not being able to follow through on these things. So both places called their bluff, and now they're essentially they've lost all their leverage in both negotiations. Why does Vegas feel they need to hurry to deal with this when they know if they just kick the can down the road, they'll get an expansion team either way?
100%.
Right.
They're either going to get the A's or they're going to be top of the list for expansion.
Yep.
And Oakland can say, well, you're going to be homeless in 2 years, so you tell us what you're going to do, because they're not going to play ball with this anymore. But they just
I doubt the Giants are going to allow them to play at Oracle Park.
Right. Right.
No way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've given up all leverage. I don't understand, and they still act like they have leverage, but they don't.
That's because they're idiots.
They are.
You've got. I've said this 1,000 times, and nobody who I respect has ever given me an argument that tells me I'm wrong. You'll get somebody that's like, no, they're geniuses because I want the A's in Vegas. Yeah, get out of here. You're not part of this conversation.
Right.
Let the adults talk. But I've said you've got one guy who has inherited all of his wealth, and has managed to screw a lot of it up. Gap stock is down. He's got the laughing stock of the MLB. He's got the laughing stock of the soccer league, right? So he's not good at that. And then you've got a guy that's like just the definition of Peter Principle. He was probably pretty good at marketing or something. And so they kept promoting him until he's the president of a team. And now he's the president of a small soccer team in San Jose. So they're like, hey, you know what? Let's move you over to the $2 billion business and just give you the keys. And it's like, you might hate Lou Wolf, but he actually knew how to play the game. He didn't get anything done, and he wasn't particularly great for Oakland. I mean, he was going to keep him in the Bay, but he wasn't necessarily great for Oakland, but he knew how to manage a business of this magnitude.
Yeah.
And
I think that's the weird thing. I always kind of go back with Lou Wolf and thinking about it. And it's just like the fact that the farthest away that he wanted to move the A's was San Jose.
Right.
And I mean, it's painful to hear that because, Oaklanders are just so accustomed and so, smitten by the A's franchise that, we're only talking about, 45 minutes to an hour down the road. And it's just like, it's really not that far. And especially based on how willing Warrior fans have been since the team moved to San Francisco to just go over there. And to me, I hate going over there. I'm not a Warrior fan by any stretch, but I still hate going to San Francisco to watch a game.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, and moving them to Fremont, people would have gone because Fremont was at least East Bay.
That would work too. Yeah.
You say it was same county, same, geographical, you're not moving to the South Bay or the peninsula. You could have gone out to Pleasanton, Dublin. That still would have been East Bay, right on the same freeway, the same BART line, right? But then to go to Vegas after you have spent 5 years doing all this rooted in Oakland nonsense, and it's more than a slogan and all this BS, right? And so you have sat here and marketed off and tried to cultivate a real Homer pride, right? It's not that you're a fan of the A's. We are Oakland, right? Even if you don't even live in Oakland, you are Oakland fans. And then you're going to say, but they'll follow us to Vegas. Bull. Why would we follow you to Vegas? They of all people, if they knew at all what they were doing, they of all people would know that this is not the kind of the fan base that's just going to blindly follow them around. We will write off baseball before we go to Vegas.
Well, even more importantly with that, it's just like the A's don't really have much of a fan base outside of Oakland.
Right.
And I don't mean that. I mean, there are A's fans out there, but it's just like not in the sense of like Los Angeles that still has mounds and mounds of Raider fans. I mean, because the whole, moniker of Raider Nation, and that expands across the planet. I mean, hell, in Spain, you can buy Raider gear at FC Barcelona Stadium. I can't remember what the actual name of the stadium is. So the A's aren't of the same caliber as the Warriors or of the Raiders or of anything else that has any potential of like having any kind of a build in Las Vegas.
Well, and baseball or football and basketball are different giants than baseball is too. People will travel to they'll plan their weekend around a football game because there's one a week and it's always around the weekend, and I can make a long weekend in Vegas to go see my team play the Raiders or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's not going to be the case on a Wednesday day game in May against the Baltimore Orioles. That's going to be a 5,000 seat, ballpark.
Yeah. Well, and they keep talking about the influx of people, the tourists, right? but the A's versus Royals, like you said, on a Wednesday is not gonna draw 15, 20, 30,000 people. It's not. I don't care. You're not gonna go off. You went to Vegas to go to Vegas, right? You didn't go there to go watch the A's and Royals play on a day game or whatever. You did. You don't.
I did a thing. I did some math crunching this morning, and I ended up tweeting it out. I was going to save it for tonight, and I ended up tweeting it out. But they're saying they're going to bring in 400,000 people to Vegas who wouldn't normally come to Vegas, right? This is good, which is a 1% increase on their tourism. 1%, 400,000 people, which comes out to less than 5,000 people a game.
Yeah.
So they're either thinking we're going to average 5,000 people a game, or they're thinking we're going to get 20,000 people on Saturdays and Tuesdays are just going to be empty. They're thinking one of those two things. But why would any casino in that area, if you take all those people, right? Let's say there's 20,000 adults over the age of 21 there every day for 81 games. That is hundreds and millions of hours that those people are not in casinos and bars on the Strip.
Correct.
Which is supposed to pay for the thing, right? That district, which is supposed to pay for that
and then
stadium.
If you take the same model that the Raiders have, which is about $1.50 for every room that gets rented in Vegas, there's about $1.50 charge that goes to offsetting that $750 million they paid for that stadium. If you did that for the A's, the exact same deal, all right, if you only taxed the people that they were bringing to Las Vegas, those 400,000 people, it would take them 840 years to pay back this right? And that's not how it works, obviously. Like they're taxing everybody because the house will always win, right? But if you only take that, so that's the added value that the A's are bringing to this is an 840-year investment to take people out of the casinos for tens of millions of hours every year.
Good luck.
I mean,
off of the Strip into an area, then you have to go back to the Strip to go back, right? Because it's across the highway there. I mean, the area is not going to be. You're not going to hang out over there. A friend of mine, you're not going to hang out after a game. You're going to go back to the casino, right?
And over there, you got the Rio and the Palms, and it's just like that's still a hell of a walk to get to from where they're setting up.
Right.
It's just it, and then so I don't understand why anyone in Vegas wants this way.
No,
I can see why they would want expansion, because with an expansion team, the casinos will get in on the expansion. They'll probably get an ownership stake or something as local owners. They're going to get in on it. But as a relocation, I don't see any upside for the casinos. I see no upside for the taxpayers in Nevada or the legislatures that are going to have to go up for re-election after giving over $1 billion to two different teams to move there. There's no benefit to the A's other than they can just finally be done with the stadium talk. But they're going to be starting with a zero fan base. So you're going to have to build that from scratch. You do not have the people in charge to build a team from scratch. So
they don't even have the players.
Yeah.
They don't even have the product. You know what I mean? The product's not even good.
Yeah. And that's, people keep talking about, they did that on purpose so that they could make a case for relocation. Well, that's stupid, because if they were tanking this team to make a case to go, look, we can't survive in Oakland, then that's a dumb, short-sighted way to do it, because you're also saying we're going to be taking garbage to Vegas.
Yeah.
Because they're not all of a sudden just, we're going to go, we got a deal for some land. We're going to get Chapman and Olsen back. It's not going to happen.
Right.
I think it's going to be a very similar scenario to what happened in Chicago, like when the Blackhawks didn't want to have a network TV deal because of the fact that they wanted to bring, if you're going to watch a game, come to the stadium and watch the game. And then during that time period, I mean, we're talking about like late 90s, early 2000s, and the minor league team that was in Chicago was actually outdrawing the Blackhawks. So moving this team, and then the fact that they're still considering keeping the Aviators as their AAA team, this is going to be a scenario where the Aviators will definitely outdraw whatever the A's try to build in. Granted, first couple games in a brand new stadium, you're always going to have fans kind of packing it because it's brand new, it's shiny, it's whatever. But then once people kind of realize what the product is, it's just like, no, why would we watch this when we can watch the up and comers, in Sutherland just down the way?
So we've got some people. We got a bunch of people in the chat now. I'm going to get some of them in here. We got Jay Zah says the Rangers built Globe Life on the bones of Arlington Park. The A's could have done that and built a Hall of Fame and museum like in St. Louis. Absolutely.
100%.
100%.
Yep.
And it would have been fine. And you have so much infrastructure there with the freeways and the BART and the Amtrak and everything. There would have been work to be done. You know, those roads need to be cleaned up.
Bridge.
Yeah, those roads need to be cleaned up. The BART bridge
Yeah.
needs to be better, all that. But it would have been a fraction of the cost.
Yeah.
Mark Nicola says this is a room full of goats.
Yeah.
I'm here too, guys.
Mark's
Jason also said this was when we were talking about the earthquakes. Matthias was like Bob Melvin for the earthquakes. He turned Fisher's crap into gold. They have been riding off of Billy Bean and Dave Force genius to make him because they're good at their jobs. He got away with this a lot longer than he should have.
Yeah.
And I was talking to somebody. I don't remember if I said it on this show or not, but I was talking to somebody and I said, what if all of this tanking was not so much John Fisher or Dave Cavill saying we don't have the money to do this, but David Force and Billy Bean going, you know what? I'm done with this. The next owner will hire us too. Let's show these people what we can do with $40 million or whatever the payroll is now.
That's honestly a scenario I never really thought about because, I mean, the last couple of years especially, I just become more and more enraged at being enforced just because of just like what the situation is. And I get it. Like, Fisher's not going to give them more money to do anything, but it's just like at the same time, it's just like who are these guys you're getting? And then you got a guy like Rooker who's just blown up. So I know. Like, damn it! Now I can't be mad about this anymore.
Yeah,
and they scored Ruiz. Well, Ruiz is going to be pretty. I mean, he's coming across pretty special. I like him.
Timothy here says, "I'll go see the opening of Howard Terminal before I ever go up the street to see the Las Vegas Cavals."
100%. He's from Vegas. I know him pretty well.
What are the chances that the A's will relocate to Las Vegas? I say right now 50-50.
I go 13%.
I think it's less than 50%. I do. I don't think they have any. I don't know. I don't know. But okay. So what about this whole funding? Right? They have to have everything in by July. But then I've also, on the other hand, you know, with Casey Pratt talking, they can hold a special session, right? I know they don't want to, but they can, right? So with the guidelines, I mean, the timelines aren't that. They're significant, but not concrete, right? Basically.
But you got to if you take COVID out of the equation, the A's are still like 3 years ahead in Oakland than they are in Las Vegas.
Correct.
So I'm not a land developer or anything like that, but I can't imagine that Las Vegas, the process in Las Vegas is 4 years faster than it is in California.
Well,
you know,
that condominium project they built there in Strip took forever when they were doing that. Remember that big condo project? That seemed like it took a long time. So
they've been working on the freeways there for the last decade. So I don't see how this is going to work any faster.
So the reason I say 50-50 is because of what we talked about earlier, that because there's no leverage on either side, they are basically starting at zero as far as negotiating with either city. They've got more legwork done in California as far as like EIRs and legislation passed and all that. And they've cleared a lot of the lawsuits that would be, or all of them maybe at this point, that would be roadblocks. But they're still, as far as Oakland, the city is concerned, they're basically starting from scratch there. So I think it's a flip of the coin. Whichever city balks first, I think is going to blow it for that.
Yeah. So what happens in 2024 when revenue sharing is up and they have no deal nowhere, nothing? I mean, what's going to happen? I don't understand it.
I hope it forces Fisher to sell, because the fact that if he has no steady income coming in,
right,
especially when he doesn't exactly have any money going out, then that's really going to clamp him up.
That's what I'm hoping for too.
If it gets down to that's his last real asset of any value, and he's not making the money he thinks he should be making on it, I can't see any. I can't see a scenario where if revenue share is drying up in January, I can't see a scenario where baseball isn't telling him in December, you got to go, dude.
Yeah.
You know, like don't even wait around for spring training. Like, you've got to get this done. And, you know, I don't know if it still holds, but Lacob has had an open standing offer for years, apparently, So I don't think it would be too tough to get a new ownership group together in the Bay Area.
I feel like there's going to be some other groups that are going to be coming out of the woodwork as well. And good. I mean, nothing against Lacob. Because at least we know he's going to keep the team in Oakland. He can obviously afford it, but I would still like to see what other groups are out there at least interested to not only keep the team in Oakland, but it's just like, okay, if you take ownership of this team, like, what are you going to do with it?
Yeah. Timothy says it is currently impossible to find a route to work without construction. Nevada State Flower is the traffic cone.
See? Yep.
I also think Fisher made a mistake or something. You know, when he bought all shares of the A's, I know that was kind of like a good investment, but now he has no capital resources, right? He's almost an introvert, right? In a way. He's nowhere to be found. Maybe he is in these exclusive things. I think him being that introvert part is destroying him. You know what I mean? And he got capital out, or Cabal or whatever, out there, yapping away like crazy. He's the craziest one to me.
But even he, for the last year now, has been, by his standards, relatively silent. He'll do the occasional quote in a newspaper or whatever, but he is not. There's been like 5 tweets this season, and it's all just been like, "I am at the game." Yep. Hashtag athletics. And that's it. There's, the days of being like, hey, how come there's no hot dogs in section 412 and him just delivering you a hot dog? Those days are gone,
Right.
Yeah. He has checked out, and that's been going on since last season even, but
with that, in regard to his tweeting, I go back to a few years back. Actually, it was 2019 with the Knights in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and him sending that tweet about that and just how hard he got buried for even that little thing. Because it's like, in our heads, it's like, well, we know what you're doing, man. Like, why are you doing this now, especially with the A's in the postseason? And granted, it was wild card, and that ended horribly for everybody except for Tampa Bay. But still.
But that's the thing, is you get the impression that they think they're being genius. And then nobody else sees what's going on. Like the other 29 ownership groups in this league aren't looking at this and going, yeah, we know why you're not spending money. We know why you're just on the dole of MLB profit or revenue sharing all this time. We know what you're doing in Vegas. We're not stupid, but they seem to think they're pulling the wool over everybody's. And this is specifically Cavill, because like you were saying, Fisher's it's like having Howard Hughes as an owner at this point. He's just a rich guy recluse,
So him going to Vegas actually makes sense.
Yeah. Add a link to the museum.
I agree with you. It's I don't know. I think that's it. They think they're so much smart. I think Cavill thinks he's so much smarter than everybody. Just unbelievably smarter than everybody.
Well, there was a report that came out, I think, about a week ago that basically said that he is rubbing Nevada legislatures the wrong way because he's going around thinking that he's the smartest guy in the room. Yeah. I worked for a president, and I run a baseball team and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, that doesn't mean much to these people.
Yeah.
No.
When they're the ones that can pay your wages, what I mean?
and they see guys in your position or higher every single day of their job. So why would they be so impressed with you coming in here and go, hey, I'm the president of the poorest team in baseball. I'm doing a great job. Yeah.
I want to go back to what you were talking about a second ago, because this kind of ties into your opening statement in regard to MLB just kind of like washing over all the protest signs that are going on and such like that. And it's just, at the moment, all the other owners are basically kind of adhering to, whatever the A's are doing. Like, nobody in any kind of front office is really saying anything. The Giants made a statement about a week ago, and it's just like all of us kind of deep inside were just like, at least I did. I said it was bullshit, because of the fact that it's just like, for so many years, the Giants have just been, kind of waiting for this moment and interfering with any plans that the A's have. And so it's just like, it was so disingenuous for them to say that, and especially during the timing. And it's just like, oh yeah, the Bay Area wouldn't be the same without the A's being here. It's just like, dude, bullshit, man. We bailed your asses out back in the 90s.
You could have powered the lights at the Coliseum for a full game off the energy of eye rolls when the A's fans read that report. It's like, get out of here. You are financing the opposition to Howard Terminal.
Absolutely.
But tell me again how it's just crucial that the A's stay. Give me a break.
Yeah. But then again, like the other 27 or so owners are just like, 28 owners are just in the dark. Nobody's really saying anything about this. And I mean, granted, all those guys have way more liquidity than Fisher and company does. And so it's just like, I don't get it. I mean, to me, it feels more like the NFL in regard to, the good old boys club that's kind of going on here, except it's not. I mean, none of these owners really have much in common other than the fact that they're all rich as hell. At least with the NFL, it's just like there's definitely more camaraderie that goes beyond anything that goes on the football field. So it's just weird. And then, going back to doctored video footage of, what the fans in Oakland are doing and how much Major League Baseball is covering up, and especially like people behind social media accounts that are the ones that are taking all the fire. Much in the same sense where it's like the A's are looking for a new social media manager. And it's like, I can't say I blame them for leaving, because the fact that they're taking all the heat just for being in control of the talking points of anything social media wise. And they're not the ones that are like doing anything, which is like, for me personally, why I don't tweet at, the actual sports accounts. Cause it's like, no, I'm mad at Caval. I'll tweet his ass because fuck him. And if Fisher had a Twitter account, then I do the same thing, because those are the people who are responsible, not some 20-something-year-old running a social media account for a sports team. It's like, leave them out of this.
It drives me nuts when you tweet something and you specifically don't add the tag, and somebody in the comments will just be like, at athletics. I'm like, first off, they see it because everybody's retweeting it or whatever. They see these posts. But yeah, like you were saying, it's like, this is some college kid probably, or somebody that's just trying to do their job. They have nothing. No, they don't have John Fisher's ear. They're not reporting to Cavill every week about who said what on social media. Like these are just people doing a job.
Yeah. And that's what I do for a living, is social media for a company. And I get called out by name anytime something goes wrong with that company. It's like, I didn't do shit. I don't have any ownership in this company. Like, what are you talking about?
I have a password. That is the limit to my powers, is I have a password. So the Bobble Foo says, what do you guys think about the bobbleheads being given out this year?
he came up with us last Thursday. He came up and went to a game with it. But the whole joke on that is the A's are selling bobbleheads. I mean, it's a special ticket. So you have to pay $30 to get your bobblehead. You know what I mean? Yeah, that was the last one. And then the one coming up is going to be $30. The other two giveaways are garbage. Well, I mean, they're okay, but
I was going to say, what are the bobbleheads this year?
One's Marcotte, wasn't it?
Yeah, this is the Kotze. It's a Mandalorian for May the 4th for Star Wars. This is the one that just came out on May 4th. It's cool. The next one is going to be Groot. Groot for the Guardians, which is really cool. The base on that one's pretty cool. This is Kotze's.
Oh, okay.
And then the Groot one's cool.
Me.
Basically, this thing costs $30. By the way, you had to buy a special ticket to get this.
That's insane.
That's nuts.
I know, but they are selling for more than that. But anyways, the Groot one's cool because it actually has the Oakland base, the tree. You know how the like Oaklandish and all that stuff, that tree and the city. It has that on the base, which is pretty neat. But the other ones coming out Captain Marvel's coming out. I don't even know anything about Captain Marvel. There's no players because we don't know. At least we could have got like a Langoliers or a Rooker or something, but they're putting zero effort in to do any of that. So.
Your franchise is in bad shape when the manager gets what's his second or third season and he gets a bobblehead. That you don't have players on your payroll that are going to attract.
This is the first one in 4 years, by the way.
That's nuts.
Yeah, and that was the other thing. It's just like I'm trying to remember the last time there was even a bobblehead that was done, and so my God.
Yeah. That's my world, is the bobblehead world. But yeah, I know.
You don't say.
Well, but the good thing is, so like I make them too. So we have Chris Davis and Gallego coming in June, and I'm doing bobbleheads for them and they're going to be around. So that's cool. They're coming back to the area. Ben Grieve, I got Ben Grieve to come to a game this year. He's coming in the summer. So,
really?
Yeah. I love the dude. I Ben Grieve, all these guys, they're amazing people. We're doing one with Mike Norris, doing another one with Mike Norris to do, he raises money for his inter-city baseball leagues and stuff like that. So it's super cool. I will tell you right now. So this is my opinion of all the stuff going on. Oakland A's is like a fraternity, right? The players come back and they act like the vibe and these guys now, these old players come back. I can text Mike Gallego right now, talk to him, and he's like, it's all because it's Oakland. You know what I mean? It all comes back, and it's all a core. All these guys even the old players, feel the same way as we do as fans. It's crazy. It's a fraternity. We are part of the fraternity. It's crazy.
Well, because you make their experience on the team special. You know, like those guys in the bleachers and all the traditions that are wrapped up in that team that go back to the 70s, you know, back to the Crazy George days, practically. You know, it's like it makes something special that they don't get in any of the other places that they play, even though they're making more money and bringing home rings. They're not getting that daily experience. They're not getting that exciting crowd on a Tuesday night.
Yep.
That the A's used to have, you know?
Yeah.
Actually, one thing I will say in regard to, as we're talking about former players that are still currently playing in the league stepping up, like Chris Bassett, Matt Olson, a bunch of other dudes who are just flat out saying like how much of a travesty it is that the A's are even considering leaving. And obviously this isn't the players on the A's. When you use the moniker the A's are leaving, it's A's front office is talking about leaving. No, I think it's always important to solidify. This goes back to the social media discussion where it's like it's not the person running the A's.
I agree.
Doing it. It's
But, Bassett's comments yesterday, the day before, were the best of any of them. I think
fantastic.
He was straight up like, yeah, they've been saying this forever.
Yeah,
it's still a stupid idea then, and it was a stupid idea now.
hard words coming from a guy who got sent to Canada. So.
Yeah, I don't know. It's fantastic. One question you mentioned that. Yeah, right. I know. He wants to come up and bring his kids to show where he played and stuff, and so he's coming up. It's going to be pretty cool. The one question you said Tom Hanks spoke out, was that a recent quote? I saw that quote. Was that recent? That quote about
I don't know. It's been going around the last day or two.
I know. I didn't know if it was current or not though.
I assumed it was, but I don't. Now that you ask, I don't know for sure.
Okay, all right. Somebody asked me, and I said I don't know.
No, that's a good point because it's like I go back to 2014 when he, had the can of Zevia. When was the last time we talked about Zevia? With the Oakland A's can specifically, and so I think a lot of it just kind of stems back from that, and hard to believe that was 9 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Well, Zevia only reason I know Zevia is because of that root beer float day with Bob Melvin and his diabetes awareness. I was like, this is a terrible root beer float, but it's I hated that thing.
You know what this needs is real sugar.
Yeah, that was awful. But Bismarcky made me a root beer float. I cannot ever take that away from my whole existence. I love that.
You're not getting that at Oracle. So, any last words you guys want to throw out there, or topics that we haven't covered?
Topics we haven't covered. Hey, I mean, A's won 2 in a row. Thank God for that. Granted, it is the Kansas City Royals, but based on history between the A's and the Kansas City Royals going back to 2014. This is a good 2 game. This is a good series win so far.
They're now tied for the worst team in baseball.
Yes.
Who is it? Like, I don't even know that. Right? Who's the other team that's tied?
The Royals.
The Royals.
Oh yeah. That's
with
right.
today's win, they matched.
Hey, but we're only 11 games back from the Yankees, so and we're on our way to New York next. So let's beat their ass.
I don't think that's the bragging point it used to be.
Oh, I kind of would have liked to seen the season go if we could. How far we could have made it without a starting pitcher getting a win, though. That would have been
wild.
It would have been crazy.
There's a part of me that's like, if we're gonna lose 100 games, let's just go for 130.
Balls to the wall, man. Let's just go for it.
Like we were all there for the winning streak. We were all there for the consecutive 97s and all the postseason. Let's just all be there for the 130 game loss. We have a chat question that says, do you think if more A's legends speak up about how upset they are about the possible move, would sway the decision to leave Oakland?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Well,
I do.
I from a legislature perspective, yes. From Fisher and Cavalt, no.
Right.
I doubt those dudes care what anybody says about the situation.
they are the most calloused group. I mean, I get it. You have to be Jerry Jones is a little too much, right? Like he's right there in your face, and he knows everything is being said. But these guys are so. It's even more callous than like a corporation. At least has a goal and is trying. Trying to. These guys are like its own personal little thing, and I don't care. I don't care. We're so smart. We're so smart. And it's weird. I don't even know why he wants to own this. So I have heard Fisher has an amazing collection of baseball memorabilia. I'm talking Babe Ruth stuff, an appreciation for the history of baseball. And he has this team like this, and he's doing this. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I know it bounced around from Philadelphia to Kansas City to Oakland. But Kansas City didn't even really care for they didn't like Finley, Yeah. And Finley was from Kansas City, That's where he made his money. So this is a whole different type of, he's all bouncing around, but I don't know. Yeah,
I think if current active players speak up, I don't think it makes a bit of difference on anything. But, they asked, who did they? Was it Reggie Jackson when he was there for the thing? Yeah. And he was like, "Yeah, I'll go to Vegas. I'm a athletics person." It's like, well, no, you're in the hall as a Yankee, but whatever. But I think if some of those guys from those dynasty years or from the late '80s World Series run, if Dennis Eckersley came out and was like, "If they move to Vegas, I'm never appearing in an A's hat again."
Yeah,
I think that might start swaying some people. If the Las Vegas people are looking at this from the angle of we want a team that's going to come in, that's going to bring a history with them and all that kind of stuff, and they're seeing that the history is not going to come with them, the fan base isn't going to come, the old Hall of Famers aren't going to come, that might sway them. I don't know if that is actually a factor in what they're thinking at all. It could just all be down to if the checkbook, if the ledger comes out okay, then whatever. But I think some of those guys are the ones that would be more important to come out and be critical of a move than even the active players.
Yeah, Reggie's never been one of those guys that's ever excited me because, like, anytime I see him in the Coliseum, it's like, oh, cool. How much did they pay you to come out this time?
Yeah.
It's never a voluntary thing. So Reggie's comment does not surprise me in the least.
I've got a buddy that's got a Reggie story that he refuses to tell me, and I keep telling. I'm like, dude, you got to tell. He's like, dude, if I told you this story, I'm like, dude. But I don't think it would endear him to me anymore.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, one thing for me is, and this goes in the question of like, what is the direction that the A's want to go? Because let's look at the Astros back in the 2010s, losing 100+ games 4 years in a row. But there was a plan involved with this. And then sure enough, 2017, win a World Series. So what if it wasn't legit? Because here we go into last year, 2022, and they win again, still with the same formula they've been working on, re-signing the right players, going out and signing other players that will help the team down the road. Orioles are going through the same thing right now. They had their dark years within the last couple because the last time they made the postseason was 2013. Then they go on this like losing tear year after year. Last year, they're a little bit ahead of schedule. They finish above 500, and this year they're right behind the Rays in second place in the East. And so, we look at the situation with the A's, and it's like, okay, what's the end game here? Because nobody's telling us anything. And this was my problem going back to earlier with Forrest and Bean is neither of them are coming out and saying like, hey, just bear with us, trust the process, anything to like kind of calm us down. I mean, granted, these last couple of games, we're seeing, some flashes of excitement or at least things to be happy about with the product. But the longevity of this is certainly in question because once guys come to the end of their contract, it's like, okay, where are they going to go? And who are we bringing in to start this whole process over again?
Yeah, that's the thing is this next teardown is going to be practically breaking down a AAA team.
Yeah, which is bizarre.
We're not going to be breaking down a postseason team. We're going to be breaking down these guys that, are going to be their third year in the majors.
Yeah. And I mean, realistically, if anybody who's on the team right now, Jesus Aguilar is going to be gone probably before the All-Star break, just because, he's not doing power numbers like he was in Tampa or elsewhere, but it's like somebody's going to find some use for him in their in their roster trying to get into the postseason. So he's gone. I can't say the same for anybody else necessarily right now, but
it's just gonna be for more lottery tickets.
Totally.
We're not gonna get a starter for anybody right now, because what team so you're gonna try to win 35 games, so you're just gonna be getting a whole bunch of lottery tickets for the few glimpses of hope that you've got in your roster right now.
Yeah,
which is just as frustrating as what they've been doing in years past.
And they're burning through that minor league system. I mean, they still have Soderstrom and guys like that, but boy, they sure are pushing guys around. Acevedo, I was kind of surprised the Acevedo. I mean, I thought he was at least could carry a little bit. I mean, I think he's better than Fuji. I'm sorry, you know what I mean?
You're right.
I'm fairly certain the three of us are better than Fuji.
Well, for a couple pitches, then we got him.
Yeah. So somebody was like, "Cool, can you believe that the Fuji's been off to such a rough start?" I'm like, "Yeah, I predicted this a long time ago. Why would he sign with the A's if he wasn't going to start with the rough start? If he was the next Ohtani, he would be a Yankee right now.
Yeah,
we wouldn't have.
Yeah, and I like him. I mean, he's a great personality, but
damn. Yeah. When you've got that 7 ERA, 10 starts in.
Yeah.
I mean, you always want to have that mentality. It's like, well, it can't get any worse than this, but we all know it certainly can.
Yeah.
Hey, we're on a streak now. We're coming back now. Put things together.
Thank God.
Got him right where we want him. Apparently, Timothy says the end game is the discovery of a Fisher-Manfred sex tape. Fingers crossed. As devastating as that would be, I absolutely do not want to see that tape.
No.
And no, I don't want to watch it.
No, I the one thing I kept seeing a lot on Twitter yesterday, and I hate to bring this up, but it came up, was the fact that what happened with Glenn Kuiper and what he said on there yesterday. A lot of people are just like, why couldn't this be Fisher? Like, because we all like Glenn.
Yeah.
Glenn is a super cool guy. And I feel horrible for what happened, but at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, if there was a wish to put that in existence, to have it come out of Fisher's mouth as opposed to Kuiper's, that would be it.
Yeah.
Or Cabal's for that matter. Shit.
I think
I'll take any ones.
Fisher has obviously watched somebody in the commissioner's office murder somebody.
Yeah.
There's no other logical explanation for why they keep engaging with this guy. Like, he's obviously got dirt on them.
Yeah.
Do you believe? Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I'd say it was good to see Stu step up or address that today. By the way,
yeah,
I like seeing that.
Even Bob Kendrick said something today, which I thought was really.
I appreciated that. Yeah. Yeah.
So MM4 Forever says, do you believe Larry Beal's report that there are 2 or more parties who want to buy the A's? If so, shouldn't they make themselves public? Well, I think one of the parties probably has made themselves public. That
Lacob.
Joe Lacob from the Warriors is interested. And then there was years ago, there was that team that was like some guys from Clorox or something. They'd put together an ownership group. Dave Stewart's had an ownership group that was interested in buying the team for a minute. Their focus is now on Nashville expansion, but I think I would be willing to bet money that if the opportunity arose, Dave Stewart's focus would go from Nashville back to Oakland in a heartbeat.
I'm iffy about Stu having any kind of ownership just based on what he did horribly with the Diamondbacks, but I mean, his heart's in the right place.
That was as a GM. No, though,
I know.
But yeah, he's not proven himself as a strong entity in the front office. But
correct.
Well, there's got to be more than
as an analyst, as a player, phenomenal.
Yeah, and as a guy who is going to keep the team actually rooted in Oakland as opposed to just a saying.
True.
Getting a guy like that in the ownership group would be important, and it would rid us of Fisher and Cavill.
There's more than 2 groups. I mean, there's got to be a dozen people. I mean, if a team goes up for sale, just like with the Redskins or the Commanders, when they came up for sale, there was a whole bunch of groups. You know what I mean? When you say just two, there's more than just two sitting
I'm
there,
sure.
you know
I'm
what I mean?
sure there are groups of investors that just have a standing order. If a team ever comes available, we want it, regardless
Yeah.
of the team.
Oh,
you
no
know?
doubt. And that's
Yeah.
where my mentality is with it too, just because the fact that you look at even just powerful clubs around the world. I mean, the fact that Chelsea, when Roman Abramovich was forced to sell the team in the wake of everything that's going on between Russia and Ukraine, I mean, there was an ownership group that came in quickly, and that was for over $6 billion. So the A's sure as hell aren't worth $6 billion. I personally don't feel like they're worth more than one. I don't even think they're worth one. I think we're still scratching the surface in hundreds of millions. But yet the way that things have been inflated over the years, of course, they're going to go for, multiple billions of dollars.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, you can't say they're not worth one only because the Dodgers are worth 6 or whatever. It's like it's the rising tide of everything else. If they were a standalone entity with what they're bringing in revenue and everything, they're not worth anywhere near $1 billion.
No. I would cap it at like 487 million. I'm just throwing a number out there that seems logical.
13%. Will you guys stay A's fans if they move? If no, what's plan B?
I don't know.
I like to say no, but then I am so like, this has been a part of my life since I was a kid. It'd be hard not to like I'll check the box scores. I don't see myself going to a Vegas game.
Right.
But it would be hard to like totally abandon it. But if you also move away from where I have that connection, and it's hard to say. I saw somebody posted a comment on the first video I did of this, and they said, if you had a spouse that said they were never going to leave you and they left you and moved across the country, and would you stay, with them? Would you keep following them and stay their spouse and all that, if they left you to move halfway across the country? And I was like, well, of course not. But if I had a best friend that did,
right.
So it's like, if you don't go to the extreme,
right.
So it's I don't know where I would fall on that. We'll see if it happens, but.
And this is more of it's not a unilateral relationship, but it's almost unilateral. Like, we love the team. The team doesn't really love us back. You know what I mean? I mean, they're trying to get our money. That's what they're trying to do. I mean,
my first spouse. It says, if Nintendo has the Mariners, can't Apple have the A's?
I don't know if I'd want that.
Yeah.
Apple's kind of at a point where it's like they peaked years ago, and eventually it's all going to go really like streaming downhill from here.
And then they have you. Then it'll be $45 for the bobbleheads.
Exactly. No, going back to the previous question in regard to like, would I still follow the A's? Like, first and foremost, I'm a baseball fan.
Yeah.
And on top of that, the first team that I was following was actually the Montreal Expos. Despite being an Oakland native, a Bay Area native, etc., the A's to me were always kind of the second team, but it was the local team. I could always come out, support them, whatever. Because I'm only going to see the Expos if my dad decides to take me to a Giants game at Candlestick, which happened once or twice. And then when they stopped existing, moved to DC, became the Nationals. It's like, that's when I really put my heart and soul into the A's, just because, they have my full attention. They're not going anywhere. It's always been a more fun atmosphere, at least from my personal experience. And I think that's the one thing that people who haven't been here don't really understand. Yeah, our stadium, from a visual standpoint, kind of sucks. But at the same time, who cares? We go there to watch baseball. We don't need any of these other frills and fancy things going on, because our baseball stadium has a lot more character, and our field especially has a lot more character going on, with the wider than usual
foul territory.
I want to say out of bounds, but foul territory. That was the term I was looking for. Foul territory. And so, if the A's leave, it's just like, well, it doesn't mean I'm going to stop watching baseball. Yeah, I might stop putting any kind of financial commitment into the A's organization, except for the one time I go to Vegas to watch a game, because it's like, well, I got to check out the new stadium and see what all the fuss is about, and then I'll probably never go back.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah,
I could see myself being a fan of baseball. I could see myself going like, well, you know what? I like Bob Melvin, so I'm going to support whatever team he's coaching this year, something like along those lines,
Yeah.
and just not having any kind of loyal affiliation to any team, and just follow the group of guys I like or the management I like or whatever.
I feel like
fan
a
of
lot
the
of us have been
players.
doing that for a long time. Just hey, like do a little with the Nationals, dude. Who wasn't happy that he got a World Series ring?
Right.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you're right. I'd be more of a fan of the players. I would go see the stadium and stuff, and I don't know how I'd feel. I mean,
And go piss on it, probably. I mean, I would do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to. I get that everybody asks that question, and I don't know how to answer it just yet. You know what I mean? I kind of don't live in that moment yet. I guess I'll get there at some point. So.
Well, it's like asking, like, what would you do if one of your parents split? It's like, I don't know,
Right.
No, I think the real question is like, wait, my parents are getting divorced? What?
Right.
Let me go through this panic first.
Right. Yeah. It's like there's a lot of steps that have to happen before I'm actually dealing with that,
Yeah, I don't think that far ahead. I don't want to put my effort into thinking of that. Be honest with you, I don't care to ask that or to answer that yet. You know what I mean? To focus on that yet, basically.
Yeah.
Plus, ultimately, I'm still not convinced it's going to happen. So then it's
same.
Then you're sitting there pondering on something that's just a hypothetical. It's
Yeah.
Well, I think it's the same as like any of the stadium sites. I mean, whether it's Fremont, whether it's San Jose, whether it's Laney, whether it's Howard Terminal. For me personally, and I know a lot of other people have the same mentality, it's like, dude, none of this means shit until I see a goddamn shovel go in the ground.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. You're trying to sell us on Howard Terminal. Okay. That's nice drawings. They look great. You know what I mean?
I saw somebody today on Twitter that said the best thing that the mayor could do, or the city hall or whoever could come out and go, we can get it done just as fast as Vegas.
Yeah.
Just put out a statement that goes, there's nothing stopping us from getting it done just as fast other than the A's.
Yeah.
Because they're at a point now where it probably is even odds, because of all the work they've already accomplished and all the hundreds of millions of dollars they've supposedly spent, that if they came out tomorrow and were like, we can do it.
Right.
Yeah. I don't buy it either. But
I feel like I feel like you got a discount on that EIR or whatever. It's something weird about hundreds of millions of dollars. And then that the whole thing where they're going to have that summit for negotiation, and then them to flip that summit. I mean, the city hired a mediator. Like, that's a big step for a city to do. And then you just like spit in their face. But come on, man.
But they're the ones that aren't negotiating in good faith. If you ask,
I know.
It's like, how can you say that?
That was wild. That was pretty. If you take it for what's when we're being told, that's pretty wild story.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you got a brand new mayor, that's even less leverage because she's not pushing for re-election. She can sit this out for a little while.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's even one more piece of the puzzle that the A's have just ceded by not getting this done while Libby Schaaf was still there, or back when she was still eligible for re-election. Like they've every step of the way they've screwed this up.
Yeah.
New location, Bulldoze Bayfair Mall. Not a bad idea.
Yeah.
I haven't been to Bayfair in a while, but that is not a bad idea.
It's not.
It's
not a bad. No, but you actually, I mean, it's not a bad idea. I mean, one, just because of how terrible Bayfair Mall is.
And that's like 2 or 3 BART stops. Like it's almost there anyway.
Exactly. No, it's literally right there. So I mean, yeah, it's kind of a perfect spot.
There were plenty of other perfect
it's San
spots.
Leandro, but it's still perfect.
Yeah.
Or they'll just be the Oakland A's of San Leandro.
At least there'll be a place to like grab a beer within proximity to the stadium.
Yeah.
I mean, when was the last time we had that?
Yeah. We're like the only stadium that doesn't even have that, right? Like every stadium I've been to, you can, that's crazy to me.
Well, the Angels don't really have that, do they? They're kind of
I guess
middle.
I know
middle
that's a big part.
But I mean, within like a half a mile, there's like 5 breweries.
Yeah.
That you can hit up, plus a Hooters.
Right.
Oh, well, there you go. I haven't been there in a long time, but when I was there, this is probably 10 years ago, you're just walking around going, this is an older park than Oakland by a year, like
Oh,
a couple of years.
Correct.
But when Disney had them, they put some money in and did some renovations, and it's not a bad park. I mean, the outfield stuff is a little bit hokey, but just walking around the concourse, and you've got Disney's kind of crowd management tactics in there and stuff like that. And it's like, there's no reason that the A's couldn't have put in $100 million into that and bought themselves another decade in the current stadium.
Totally.
Oh yeah.
The whole time crunch is totally on them because they wanted to do no investment. And I kind of get that to a degree because they were splitting it with the Raiders. They're not in control of the property. Dave Cavill told me that, it was not really in their interest because they didn't get a cut of any of the ticket, of any of the revenue from the Coliseum specifically. This was before they owned half of it, the county share. But so I get why there wasn't a ton of incentive, but they could have done it. The Raiders built Mount Davis without needing the A's to come in and chip in or whatever. And that was an improvement, in quotes.
Aren't they still paying for that though? Technically,
I don't think anybody's paying for it now. I think it's just a loss at this point.
Yeah.
Because Oakland let them go without paying for it, and they let the Warriors go without paying their debts.
Right. Yeah.
What a mess.
Isn't that every day we look at it? This is a mess. Every piece of news, everything is just a mess.
Every single thing. I texted Susan Slusser and I was like, "Hey, does part of you wish that you were still covering the A's because there's a new story to cover every day, or does part of you wake up every morning and go, oh, thank God I don't have to cover this today?"
Yeah,
because it's like every day is a little bit stupider than yesterday was.
It is. They cannot get any progress. They figure out a way to make it go backwards. They just like, okay, let's figure out how to make this worse.
Instead of like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, it's like 2 steps back, shoot yourself in the foot.
Well, the Chronicles sure changed their tune over there, huh? They're all what's her Ann? They're all
Ann Killian.
Yeah, all pro Oakland now, huh?
With the exception of Mad Dog, who I haven't been able to stand the entire time I've ever known he existed. The whole narrative shifted overnight. It was like all of a sudden Fisher is a shitty owner. It's like, well, we've been telling you, every single report you've ever written, the comments are filled with Oakland people going, it's not us, it's the owners. It's not us, it's the owners. It's not. You've been being told this for 2 decades now. And now all of a sudden when he threatens to leave, and it's great for clicks. All right. So my site, I've got an article I wrote 2 years ago. It's not even a new article. It's just the Oakland A's have been ruined. And I go through all the things that Cavill screwed up since he got here. Because my thoughts on him are basically, if you exclude the treehouse and a few of the aesthetic things he's done to the Coliseum, he hasn't had a single hit yet.
Nope.
It's been nothing but misses. Right. So I wrote this article 2 years ago. And since they've announced that they've gone to Vegas, it's like one of the best performing articles on my site. It's like top 2. So it's had a second life, right? But I got my report from Google, and it says, this is what people are searching for when they get to your site. And you know what the number one thing they searched for last month that drove them to my site? The Oakland A's suck. That's more people put that into Google and end up on my site. The Oakland A's suck. That should tell you your branding and your messaging is just you've blown up the whole house. Yeah. They are losing on every single public front that they can possibly be losing on.
I mean, as much as I hate Fisher and I've hated Cavill since day one, to piggyback on your point right there, the one thing that has been driving me crazy, and this is somebody, I used to work in the media, so I understand the tactics that a lot of this stuff kind of goes through, but the fact that, yes, we as fans have been saying for decades of what the situation is here in Oakland. And I mean, granted, some years past, with Wolf, there were definitely more fans coming out, but definitely over the last, since 2019 or since COVID, it's gotten worse, like way less fans coming out because of the fact that we are just all collectively sick of everything that's going on. And of course, the media, whether it be Bleacher Report, Yard Bark, whatever it is, for years when anybody shows a photo of like what the stadium is like, at game time, and there's nobody there, and it's just like, oh, look at this, they should be a AAA franchise, whatever. And we would just be a proverbial punching bag for every media outlet, despite the fact that we've been just like screaming at the top of our lungs. It's like, no, here's the situation. And then, all of a sudden this year, we get, and then they jump on our side, and it's just like, nah, dude, sit this one out. Fuck off, dude. We got this.
Last year, all of the you should get your media credentials revoked for putting out a picture of the stadium 10 minutes before first pitch on a Wednesday afternoon and going, look, there's nobody here. But last year it was all like, look, the A's fans won't even show up. And this year, all of a sudden, it's look what Fisher has done.
Correct.
Like it's the same picture, but they've changed the angle of it. And like if this would have happened 5 years ago, we would be in a totally Cavill would have probably already been fired.
Yep.
And Fisher probably would have been under so much heat that he would have actually made a move or gotten rid of the team, but it's like nothing has changed. The story is the same. The song remains the same, but then now all of a sudden you're looking at it, from a little different perspective, and it's good for clicks. I can tell you firsthand, bashing on John Fisher right now is very good for clicks.
Yep. Huge. YouTube, it's all over YouTube. Every top thing is that, and I am so tired of this. If I see another stupid YouTube video about the stadium and how shitty it is, and I hope every one of them gets banned off YouTube. I am so tired of that.
Yeah,
I am so tired of that.
It's like I went to an A's game at Coors Field in Denver a couple of years ago. Beautiful stadium. Once I'm sitting in my seat, it's exactly the same as Oakland. It's like it's a beautiful concourse. They've got nice amenities. Sitting in my seat, it's a grass patch with some bases on it. It's exactly the same. And that's the same for the other 28 stadiums too. They're all the same from your seat.
Yeah.
At least, and I was going to say, and it makes more sense to say that nowadays, because since the Raiders left and we actually get, leading into falls without yard lines and people tearing it up. It's like we get legit green grass and designs in the outfield. Like, this is incredible. and I know I said the same thing earlier. It's just like, once you're in your seat, it's like, who cares of anything that else is going on around? Like, you're here to watch a baseball game.
Yeah.
Watch a goddamn baseball game.
Yeah. The bases are 90 feet apart in every park.
Well, isn't it like 88 2/3 now?
Well, yeah, nowadays, yeah. Now that they got those pizza boxes out there.
It's ridiculous.
Safeco Field has routinely seen little to no attendance in October. Move the Mariners. Well, there's several teams, the Rays. The Rays have horrible attendance considering the quality of team they're putting out there. But
the one thing I will give credit to Seattle fans, no matter how much I hate their soccer team that I'm not even going to name because I hate them so much. And it's not that I forgot the name. I'm a Timbers fan, so I can't even mention it. I hate them so much. Goddamn sound. Fuck them. I just say it just to let people know. It's just like, no, I actually know the team. It's not that I legitimately hate the Sounders, but they are rabid. They are dedicated to their team. I mean, you put a basketball team back there and name them the Supersonics, that thing is going to be sold out every game, no matter how bad the product is, because those people are very supportive of their team. Everything that's going on with the Mariners was just a system of like the same thing that was going on in Oakland. They had bad leadership in the front office, and so people just kind of stopped supporting it because what's the point? It's a dead end every single season. And you look at last year. Actually, I'll go the year before, the tail end of the year before, when they got this close to making the postseason, and then people kind of realized, like, hey, there's something magical happening in Seattle. And last season, they broke that playoff drought that they had. They actually got, beyond the wild card series against the Blue Jays and moved on, but they still lost to the Astros. But no, people were supporting it. People loved it. It would have been nice personally if the Mariners, beefed up a little bit more this offseason to give them something to smile about a little bit more. But it's the situation that we got. So
how's the Kraken doing up there? I love their logo, by the way. I love the Kraken.
In the playoffs, dude. Second year, they beat the reigning Stanley Cup champs. It's the first time an NHL team has ever their first playoff series, and they beat the reigning Stanley Cup champs in their first season. First time it's ever happened.
Didn't the Knights win the Stanley Cup the first year?
They went to the Stanley Cup the first year,
Oh.
but then they lost. They lost it in like I think it was in 6 games, and so it's just like something is. I mean, and that's more of the benefit of the NHL kind of like helping.
I know. Oh, they do amazing.
Yeah, help the situation out. Like it's almost like shit. I wish there was an expansion team coming that I could get on board with and support because at least within 3 years they're going to be contenders.
Yeah.
Unlike what's going on now.
Yeah.
With the A's.
Yeah, the NHL does an amazing job of helping those teams out. It's unreal. I'm shocked, to be honest with you.
That is the one thing I will give Las Vegas credit to. A lot of us kind of laughed at the idea that like, oh, hockey in Vegas, like, okay, let's see how that does. And those fans are dedicated.
But it's a Las Vegas team.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah.
No, exactly. I was gonna say
they didn't move the Sharks over there.
Right.
So you've got a homegrown team
Yep.
that they can get behind.
Yep.
You've got a team that doesn't require as much commitment as far as going to games. You know, it's not 81 games a year at the home stadium. That's what I'm saying. Like baseball, I think they're overestimating how popular baseball will be in Las Vegas for a market. It's like the 40th biggest market in the country.
Yeah.
Market media wise. So it's like that's a big ask. It'll be, if they get an expansion team, it'll be among the smallest market baseball teams in the country, and will have no history, no loyal fan base or whatever, you know. So it's like, it's a big ask for Vegas.
I think for it to work in Vegas, for baseball to work in Vegas, it can't be a team that relocates. It has to be a team that starts from scratch, just like the Knights.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say this is because Vegas has always been a minor league town. And every couple of years, when you have a new parent club coming in, it's hard to establish any bit of a single fan base. This is something I wanted to cover earlier and completely forgot. Of why, personally, I don't think the A's will work there. And it all ties in with that. Whereas if you eliminate, actually, you don't even eliminate the AAA team, because the fact, if the AAA team is still the A's or whatever as the Aviators, but then there's a new expansion team that comes in that has no relationship with the Aviators whatsoever, you can make it work. And you have to make it not necessarily on the Strip. It could be like a few blocks off, whatever, but still within a proximity where, you know, people can access it, you know, relatively easy. Like to get to the Aviator Stadium, it's not that easy to get to unless you live out there. But no, it just goes back to just like how many parent teams have been through there, and you can't really develop a fan base around that. Like it has to be something that is uniquely and genuinely Las Vegas for people to support it and going forward. I brought up the same point twice. I didn't mean to do that, but I want to
that's fine.
There, so.
Well, it's like I said last week too, like you'll see people who are like, so let the A's move to Vegas and Oakland will get an expansion team. And it's like, why would they get an expansion team when Fisher for 2 decades has said it's a garbage market to be in? The MLB would have to go to 40 teams before the Oakland would ever get an expansion team.
Right.
Yeah.
And Manfred is on record 5-6 years ago saying that they would regret leaving Oakland in a decade. You know, if they left Oakland, they would regret it. And so he knows. He might not admit it now, but he was admitting it 5 years ago. But yeah, I definitely think Vegas would benefit if there's any market for a baseball team there, they would 100% benefit from an expansion team, and all of baseball would, because now they're splitting that expansion money where they're not getting anything out of Oakland. So Oakland's getting $500 million from Nevada, and they're waiving the relocation fees. Yeah. How much more welfare do you need to get this deal done? The fact that this wasn't let's go, it's done. The fact that it's not already being built shows that they are not serious about getting a deal done in Vegas, or they're too stupid to capitalize on any kind of traction they've actually got.
Yeah. And I still feel like Major League Baseball, this is what kills me. When was the last time Oakland had the MLB All-Star Game? 1987?
Yeah.
Yep.
How many teams have had it multiple times since the last time Oakland had it?
Yeah.
So the Major League Baseball being completely supportive of everything that Fisher is doing, it's like, okay, cool. Then put the All-Star Game in Oakland, and they won't do it. They won't even bring it up because they are so fucking embarrassed by everything that's going on with Fisher and company that they're not going to have all these fan bases, all this media exposure to go there.
And they could easily say the revenue you're going to make off of this, we want you're going to have to put it into the Coliseum. You're going to have to make that a nice place.
No doubt.
All of a sudden, a lot of the problems are alleviated. And you can, like I was saying earlier, you can kick that can down the road a couple more years before you need a new stadium. So like if they would have done that in 2010, it could have been a whole different narrative for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Timothy says, if Cavill was as smart as he thinks he is, he would recognize that he is in a prime position to completely take over Oakland as the only show in town and bludgeon the fact into Fisher's head.
Dude, they started to market themselves as that.
Right.
And completely fumbled the bag.
Yeah.
That was when they took over the lease, right? That's when all that, because that's the whole thing. Now that's when Davis is speaking up and everything else. They owned it. They owned it. I mean, why they getting pushed to get? I don't know. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
No, I don't know how to answer. Like, there's no anecdote. I mean, there's no. You can't elaborate off it. You know what I mean?
I said last week with Hal. When Hal was on last week, I said if they're too stupid to actually market off of just the nostalgia that is built into having a team in one place for 60 years, if they're too stupid to capitalize, if you can't make money off of a baseball franchise that's been in one place for as long as that's had so many unique characters, that's had a couple dynasty teams, that's had so much history in that time, way more history than the Giants have had. You know, and they're able to do it. You know, they've got Willie Mays and McCovey and all that kind of stuff. And then there's a drought where there's not a lot happening, you know, and then they've got the World Series stuff, but they are still able to pull in that nostalgia from guys my dad's age who grew up with the Giants in their backyard. You know, why can't the A's do that? Because they're completely inept. They have no idea what they're doing. They don't have the manpower in the front office to get it done, even if they did know how to do it.
Yep.
And so it's just it's like a dereliction of duty, you know. It's like if we are your shareholders, you have a fiscal obligation to give us a return on our investment, you know.
Yeah.
And they're not doing that for us as hypothetical shareholders, and they're not doing it for the other owners really either. I mean, they're all making money, but it's like, oh yeah, you're making $10 million, but you could be making $100 million.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, if you even put a little bit of investment into this. And that's one thing Fisher has never been able to understand is like, I don't want to have to put in $10 million into this team of my own money.
Yeah,
Even if that means I'll make $100 million on the back end, I'm not going to do it. And that's the one thing that he's never been able to get here or in San Jose, that it's like when your business is sinking. And I said this to Dave, I was like, if my business starts failing, I have two options. I either start putting my own money into it and righting the ship, or I cut my losses and leave.
Right.
I don't get to just raise the prices, put out an inferior product and tell the customers, that's not how business works. But that's how they've been running this business for 2 decades. And like we said earlier, if it wasn't for Billy Beane and David Forst, they would have been outed years ago, because I think those are the only two guys that could have put playoff teams together with the front office that they've got.
Oh yeah.
And I think realistically, Caval and Fisher would have muscled Bean out a long time ago if he didn't have ownership and stake in the team.
Probably.
Oh yeah. There's so many, like, not free, but so many cheap marketing things they have readily available. To when you're talking about, they're not capping. There's so many things they can just feed off of. It's just right in front of them. It's sitting there. I mean, watch out. Look at the Cardinals. The Cardinals do crazy stuff. Like, who'd they have sing the national anthem? One of the players, right? They had
Adam
him sing
Wainwright.
Yeah. I mean, I bet you could have drew some players if you said, Vida Blue is going to sing the national anthem this weekend. I mean, stupid crap like that. People would show up for that stuff, and it costs you like nothing. You know what I mean?
Like, if you're going to run your roster like a minor league team, run the day-to-day games like a minor league team, and make it fun to go to the games. It's not fun to watch a game that you know they're going to lose.
Right.
You know, statistically, when you are a 200 team, statistically, every game I go to, the odds are you're going to lose.
Yeah.
So make the rest of it fun. Have those players do that stupid stuff. Have the dumb things between innings that every minor league team does, and make it a party and bring it back to being a family thing, especially if you're doing these $99 deals for however many games it was. Now you've got to do it, because as a family, I can maybe swing $99 where I'm not going to swing that for one game, under the current prices, but I might pick up that package and take my kids out to a game, every week or whatever. Make it fun for them. They've done nothing like that. You go back a few years when they stopped doing the commercials that they used to run. You had award-winning campaigns every year that made us connect to the players, right? Yeah. Half of the reason that we love Stephen Vogt and Sean Doolittle and those guys is because of those stupid commercials that were funny and engaging. They just stopped, And when I asked Dave about that, it was like, we've got a billboard on 880. Well, big deal. What's that, like $1,200? Get out of here,
man. The thing I hate right now that they're doing, I know that they're manipulating the food line crap, but you miss 3 innings of a game if you try to go get food. I do not understand what they're doing. And I know they're saying it's understaffed. I don't get it. I do not understand. But you're not even spending money at a store or nothing. You're standing in line for food. Yeah. You're not watching the game. I don't understand that. No other stadium I've been to is like that.
And that's something that they don't get a huge cut out of, because that's Aramark that's running it.
That's what I mean.
They're not even getting a cut out of that. And so it's for them to say, and if I was Aramark, the day that Dave Cavill brought in those food trucks, I would have said, then you're on your own for food. If you got this handled, you're on your own.
Yeah.
Why should we man this hamburger stand, behind a section that's got 7 people in the stands?
Yeah.
If you're just going to call in food trucks.
No, I mean, to add to your point on the food lines, like the most shocking one to me was still opening day. Like, yeah, I know it's opening day, so there's going to be more people there. Right. Big deal. But the fact that the round table pizza, which was generally the quickest to get in and out of, because it's already ready, all you're doing, pay the money, grab the pizza and go. They turned that into a turnstile.
Yeah.
Why would they do that?
I'm dead serious. Like, you have to, like, you're going to the counter to grab the food, but they're still making you waddle through a line that they self-impose. And there's 2 other people that are on the outside of the not the kiosk, but I mean, just the little area and stuff. You have to go pay for it at this point. And it's just like, this is just unnecessarily just terrible. Like, I don't understand why you made this process so much more difficult. All I want is a pizza.
Meanwhile, you've got other parks that have the stuff where, like, you just take something out of their fridge and it's paid for.
Done.
Right.
You don't talk to a person. There's nothing.
That's what they're trying to do with it, but it's just like they have just completely done it ass backwards, and it makes no sense, like, why they decided to put this in.
I mean, that could be the real slogan for the Oakland A's right now.
Ass backward, everything. You're not even. That's what the thing about. You're not even spending money on the team while you're doing that. That's what I don't understand. I do not understand that. How does that benefit at all? At all? Oh, I hate that.
That's the proverbial question, though. Is that the result of them not wanting to make money, or them just not having any idea how to manage a baseball team?
I lean more toward the latter.
So do I.
Yeah, I think so. At this point, I think so. It's unreal. It's unbelievable.
I mean, the A's have 0 marketing team anymore. Like, going back to what you were saying in regard to, like, all the great commercials and stuff, like, all those people are gone.
Yeah.
And that was because they saw the writing on the wall as far as what was going on. They didn't want to be a part of it anymore. And I respect them for that. Every now and then I see them on the streets, and it's just like, got to shake your hand. You turned shit into gold for so long, and we never really appreciated what you guys did for the team and for the image of the team more specifically. So
I mean, it was that green collar baseball, like they had built their whole image around that kind of East Bay do-it-yourself mentality
because of the green collar baseball. And then shout out the Last Dive Bar for making this.
Right, dude. That was a great day, by the way. That was a great day.
I was wondering about that, and I had A's fan by design on here, Carl, and I meant to ask him as well. I'll have to have him on back on to do it again. But it's like, what is that organization going to do? Like, they've done a ton of good work going towards the A's Community Fund and really taking care of the A's marketing as far as most fans are concerned. With like a gorgeous calendar and all this kind of stuff. It's like, what are they going to do now in this, like, while we're on the treadmill of not knowing which direction the team's going to go? Are they going to continue doing that, or?
Well, and the team has basically given them like a little bit of a stiff arm in regard to like any kind of exposure so far this season, which has been really depressing.
Yeah.
I mean, everything about this year, and like the drummers leaving, if you are in charge of this team and you see pictures going around Twitter of the drummers packing up their stuff and walking across that bridge to the BART station, a picture that you haven't seen in 20 years or however long that they've been allowed to keep their drums at the park. If that is not putting, 10 guys in Jack London Square just on full alert, like, how are we going to fix this? Then you're just completely tone deaf. Because like that right there, it was like, man, you guys you've lost your bearings on this.
I think that's it. I don't have any bearings on it.
No, they really haven't. And it's like, and they're trying to juggle 5 balls at once, and they're just dropping one after another.
I don't know. Yeah. It's sad.
This is why anytime I go to a game now, I just like to get just absolutely annihilated in the parking lot.
Well, it's like Jennifer was saying.
Because we still have the ability to do that.
Yeah. It's like Jennifer was saying, she's like, she never pays for a ticket. She doesn't give them any money. She'll pay when she sees someone that's like, hey, I got an extra ticket, she'll take it, but she's not giving them any money.
No, I do my best to do that. I'll buy my tickets off secondhand market, whether it's StubHub. I realize that the money changing hands aspect of it is still kind of weird, but at least, I feel better that it's going to somebody who actually paid for it and I'm just paying them back essentially.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's such a struggle. Like I want to go, and because it always comes down to like, we support the players. But at the same time, it's like, we have to have that ultimatum toward ownership, where it's just like, we can't put money in your pockets. We can't support what you are doing. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, we still support the product, and it's hard to do it these days.
Well, I know now. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I have a quarter season pass because I go out there with Last Dive Bar. I'm out there in left field every game and on Fridays and everything else. I do it to be part with everybody. It's a fun. They're my friends. You know what I mean? And then like I got to meet Ben and everything else. Like I'm there for that. And then we do have a little bit of connection with players and this and that. I get it. You know what I mean? I don't want to give them my money. I eat before I get there. I bring food with me. I do everything I can to not be part of that, but I do buy the tickets to come out there. I do.
Yeah.
Well, it's like we talked about it on the first episode. It's like, it's not just about the baseball game with us. And this is true of every fan base. Oh my God.
I swing my big arms every Friday.
But it's like, I have no reason to run into Ben every couple of weeks or whatever, it's like, okay, we went to Val's once, but that was it.
And that doesn't exist anymore, right?
Doesn't it? Did they close Val's?
I thought they did.
I haven't been down there. I think the last time I went was with you, but I haven't been over that area in a long time.
I feel like within the last year or two, they closed Val's.
Oh, wow.
I hope I'm wrong. I can't, because I'm on my phone. I can't look this up at the same time.
Breaks my heart twice tonight.
I know.
But it's like, I like going around the stadium and going, oh, I know that guy from Twitter and I know this guy from such, and being able to like have that camaraderie with people that like, that's not going to be the case if we have to travel to Vegas, because I'm not going to go to Vegas the same weekend you are.
Yeah, I know.
So like that camaraderie that we have as fans is gone too. And I think that's why it's real hard for A's fans to like picture what they'll do if the team moves to Vegas, because it is more than just the baseball game. It's like, yeah, I still love baseball. It's still my favorite sport, but that's not the only reason I go to games,
Yeah.
So that's the hard part.
Well, it's also it'll be the last bit of our childhood that's basically going to escape our bodies.
Yeah.
And it's like, we'll legitimately have to be adults from this point forward, and it sucks.
It sucks bad.
I'm 41 years old. I'm not quite ready, you know?
Yeah.
It's not quite there. That's the thing. It's like we all have those experiences of going with, you know, like you saying going to the Giants to see the Expos with your dad. You know, it's like we all have those experiences growing up in the Bay Area, especially if you're my age, which I think, Ben, you're pretty close, right?
Yeah, I turned 40 in February.
Yeah. So like growing up,
I'm older than both of you.
but like growing up, like I was 8 years old when they in the 89 World Series. That's like prime age to be into this team. It's like I would go as an 8-year-old to be able to go see Henderson and Eckersley and McGuire and Canseco. I mean, come on. It did not get any better than that. And that is ingrained in my memory, you know? And we grew up, I grew up in Hayward, so we weren't going to Candlestick. We were going 20 minutes up 880 to go to the Coliseum, parking across the street, you know, where they used to have the fair, and walking across over to the park. And like that's like a critical part of my summer vacation was going to a few games a year. And then my grandmother worked at next door at the arena for like concerts and stuff. And so she would always get free tickets to the A's. So when we'd go visit her on the weekends, it would be like, oh, I got tickets to an A's game this week. You know, so like I was like entrenched, collected all the cards, went to all the games. Like it's like, so to take that away, it is like you are killing an 8-year-old boy when you do that, you know? You have that on your hands, Fisher. Fisher, you heard it here first. Fisher kills 8-year-old boys.
And oh yeah, the Q with the.
See, at least you were lucky. Like I got forced to go to Giants games. Like we lived in San Leandro, so it's like just proximity wise, like why are we not going to A's games more often? It's just because my dad's a Giants fan and he wanted to go over there. So the only time we'd ever go to A's games was it had to be a day game and it had to be a guaranteed win, which let's face it, back in those days, damn near was a guaranteed win every game.
Like my dad grew up an A's fan or a Giants fan, but he also grew up like he was 12 or 13 during the dynasty years. And he's like, Giants, who gives a crap about what the Giants are doing? And you got Sal Bando and all those guys there, you know? So like he had an affinity for him, but he was like, you know, they're my American League team, but I'm a Giants fan. But when we were kids, it was, you could get with 2 UPC symbols from a Kellogg's cereal box, you could get a ticket to a baseball game.
Yep.
And I have 3 sisters, so we went through cereal boxes every 2 days, right? So we would stack these up and just get 5 or 6 tickets to these games for free. You go to Oakland, you go sit up in the nosebleeds, and about the 3rd inning, you'd spot which seats weren't taken down low, and you go down there and steal the seats in the 3rd inning because nobody checked because baseball was fun back then.
Yep.
And so we were going to 5 or 6 games a summer for free. You know,
Mother's Cookies too.
Yeah,
they have
Mother's
the tickets.
Cookies,
That's that. We used to go to Candlestick and Oakland because of that. Because Mother's Cookies always had those free or like dollar tickets or whatever they were.
Yeah. And
that's where we always went.
And the little pack of round corner baseball cards in there.
Yeah. Yes. Love that.
I've got a full set from like 87 or 88, I think, of the Mother's A's cards.
Yeah, those are cool.
I'll give you guys a crazy short little story. I was 28 years old when my father finally admitted to me that he went to every game for the 72, 73, and 74 A's World Series. Like, how do you just bury that for so many years?
For real?
When your own flesh and blood is an A's fan and you just don't ever discuss that. It was like, that's the weirdest.
He just popped that on you, like, oh, you know what? I did it. Yeah,
literally. There was something about Sal Bando or something like that going on. He's just like, oh yeah, I went to all those World Series games. Like, what?
Every guy of that generation, I assume your dad's about my dad's age. Every guy, if you ask him about baseball in the 70s in the Bay Area, none of them list another player first before Sal Bando.
Correct.
Everybody loves Sal Bando.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy, man. That's a crazy story.
Yeah, I talked to a guy a long time ago. I forget who he was.
Werther's the Pepper Farm. I'm 43, so.
Q says this pod has been brought to you by Werther's Originals and Pepperidge Farm.
Fantastic.
Because Pepperidge Farms knows. I talked to a guy years ago. I forget what the situation was, but he was like an adult, you know, like not an adult, but like a 15, 16, 17-year-old during that run in the 70s. And he used to talk about how he would just jump a chain link fence and sneak into the games.
Yep.
And he was same thing. He's like, I would cut school for a day game and go, and like it's it is so ingrained in our personalities and everything. And these people have these stories to tell, and then I retell those stories, it's like, so it's like it just keeps going and going and going. And just to rip that away from people is like, it's not in the interest of baseball. And that's why MLB should really be fighting this Vegas thing. They should be given everything they've got to keep the A's in Oakland, because it's not in the interest of baseball to be moving teams.
No.
They always treat, that I guess when Pod started, I was talking about they kind of treat the A's as like a vagabond, right? Because of that. But the Kansas City thing was a waste. Like, that was not right when they went there. So yeah, they came out of Philadelphia and whatever, but here they're part, like I said, it's like a fraternity. Everybody, and it's all, I don't know. It's sad. It cannot rip it away. It can't.
Well, and with Kansas City, if I remember right, he was looking to move out of Kansas City almost the day they moved in.
Yeah.
So like they never really got a strong footing in Kansas City. They never had a great team in Kansas. Like, they've got all these World Series in Philly. They've got all these World Series in Oakland. They don't have anything to show for Kansas City, really. That's like a blip in the progress. But when they got to Oakland, with the team that he brought, a lot of them coming from Kansas City as rookies or whatever, but with the team that he brought and the character that he had and the mustaches and the white cleats and the green and gold and the stupid bunny behind home plate and Mrs. Fields dancing around the stadium selling hot dogs and Crazy George and all these things, it's like, that guy, say what you will, he might have ruined baseball with the way he pushed free agency and all that kind of stuff, but say what you will about Charlie O, that dude knew how to make it fun.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
He understood that it was a game, and if you're winning games and you are having fun in the ballpark, everything else will just happen.
So piggybacking off of that, that created that. Then the culture of Stu and Ricky and like I said, Mike Norris, all these guys were like, they're all from here, from the Bay Area. That culture, you do hear Stu on the other pods and talk about how they used to go around and pick up trucks and pick up everybody in the neighborhood. So that culture of that 70s evolved to late 70s, 80s. Well, I guess they were 70, but you know what I mean? That winning culture created that, then evolved into that inner city stuff, and they created what we have, what we grew up with. I know they brought Canseco and all this in, but Ricky and Stu and that. I mean, it's amazing that the culture that was created is unreal. It's unreal.
And then you've got the Billy Ball era in the early 80s that is its own thing on itself, and the Moneyball era, and like all these things. It's like there are so many aspects of this team's 55, 60 years, whatever it's been in Oakland, that are just historical, important parts of baseball history, not just Oakland A's history, franchise history, but just baseball history in general. They're not making movies of many baseball teams, but
yeah. And that's a really good point. Like, as much as I hate the movie Moneyball, it's still a movie about the Oakland A's.
I don't hate them. I like the movie Moneyball, but I hate that people think it's a documentary. It's like
preferred it been a documentary.
Yeah, it's like 30% true. But as a movie, I enjoy it. As a work of fiction.
Yes, as a work of fiction, it's phenomenal. But as A's fans, like going into it and like you can pick and choose. Like, well, that shit didn't really happen.
Yeah,
Art Howe wasn't like that.
Yeah. Jonah Hill didn't even exist.
Are we going to talk about the big three on
the big three? Tejada,
yeah,
dude. Yeah, I know. It was great for Hatterberg.
Sorkin, you jerk.
Either Howard Terminal, this is from Timothy, either Howard Terminal or that Las Vegas dump site. It'll be the first A's stadium built for them since Shibe Park, which is way before Jackie Robinson was even a player.
That's true.
That is such a crazy thought.
Yeah.
That's true.
Shout out to Connie Mack. God.
Shut up.
Cheap as hell, but that man at least built a stadium for his ball club.
And the crazy thing too is like so the A's have been around for like 120 years at this point or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Between Connie Mack and Steve Vucinich, there's like 6 years of A's history that didn't have one of those two guys in it.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Let alone, like, how many owners have the A's had in general? Because it's Connie, it's Charlie O, it's the Haas family, or just Walter Haas Jr. specific because his kids just said fuck that as soon as he died. Schott and the Fisher Wolf era.
Hey, speaking of that, I just came across a thing from the 80s where you could buy into the ownership of the A's. I just came across the conch. Yeah. It was $500,000 a share.
What year was that?
87. April 6, 1987. You could buy up to 12.5 million in shares.
I had no idea they ever did that.
Me either. I got the whole I got it off a guy's estate that was part owner in it.
That is cool. That is a cool document.
I had never seen this before ever.
I had no idea they even offered that.
Yeah, they call them units, and it's $500,000 per unit. You pay $100,000 a year for 5 years per unit. Well, per unit. So
you kind of like a timeshare setup.
Yeah, and it's unusual. It's a very unique document. I've never ever seen anything. I have a lot of unique things like this, but nothing, not this. I'd never seen this before. Very.
For people that are listening to this after the fact, this is a thick contract that he's got here. Like,
oh yeah, look,
easily 100 pages, right?
Oh, well over 100 pages.
That's a lot.
I don't know how many in particular.
I had no idea they ever did that.
Me either. First time I've ever seen this. We lost Ben, I see.
Yeah, Ben has disappeared. And Timothy says Connie Mack with money would have made us the Yankees. I mean, he almost did. They're the only team to have 3 consecutive World Series victories. Other than
they were pretty fantastic. I mean, they had the best of the best players and everything. They were very good.
Well, I guess if he's not coming back, do you have any last words that you want to share?
Not necessarily. This is a great podcast or pod or whatever. This is wonderful.
Yeah, this was a fun one tonight.
And I know a little bit different, but I think it was excellent personally.
Oh, Ben just texted me. His phone went from 10% to dead within seconds.
No worries.
So we'll wrap up. If anybody wants to be on it, let me know. Send me a message either through Twitter or you can email me at uprooted@herohabit.com. And we will do a recording next week with a new panel of people. And you, of course, are welcome to come back anytime. This was fun.
Yeah.
And
thank you.
And if you want to just skip the lives, you can listen to it as a podcast wherever you can download podcasts. And of course, if you join the live in the future, you can participate in the live chat that we try to include in the show. So until next week, let's see what stupidness comes in the next 6 or 7 days.
Well, next show I'll be sucking on some Werthers and getting my Pepperidge Farm ready. So.
That's what we'll do.
Cool.
We'll replace the drinks, the energy drinks and cocktails for mother's cookies and things from our youth. Yeah, exactly. Cool. All right, great show. Thank you. Thank you. And I will see everybody else next week. Thank